Really couldn't be a better time for Hotspotting to publish the latest edition of our most popular report, the National Top 10 Best Buys report. So much has changed in the real estate landscape in just the last few weeks. Some really game-changing events have happened. Obviously, the election is done and dusted and out of the way. That had been a big barrier to activity and decision-making, and that's gone. Also removed is the spectre of the possibility of Labor winning the election and instituting its changes, particularly to negative gearing. And that's also out of the way. And in addition to that, we've seen in the last week or so an announcement from APRA, which effectively means that it's going to become much easier for real estate consumers, both home buyers and investors, to borrow, and also it means that borrowers will probably be able to get more than they previously would with the relaxation of one of those major restrictions that APRA until now had imposed upon major lenders. We've also seen media turn surprisingly positive because one of the speed bumps that has been holding back housing markets across the country has been the sensationally negative media that we've been seeing, talking about effectively a national downturn with prices falling across the country, which simply isn't so, as our regular research shows. But that's all turned around post-election, with media now talking about recovery in the two biggest markets, Sydney and Melbourne, which have been the ones that have been in downturn. So suddenly we have a completely different landscape for real estate consumers to contemplate. The election gone, no longer any concerns about changes to negative gearing, changes by APRA, what makes it easier to get finance to buy real estate, and a much more positive media. So against that background, we are this week launching the latest edition of our most popular report, the National Top 10 Best Buys. And in this edition, there's very much a focus on the smaller capital cities and on regional Australia. Contrary to that general media theme of prices falling everywhere, there are some very strong rising markets across Australia. Many of them are in regional Australia right now. Regional Victoria is probably the strongest market in the country, closely followed by regional New South Wales, and increasingly we're seeing locations in regional Queensland, regional South Australia, starting to rise, starting to recover, starting to produce price growth again. Regional Tasmania is another one that's been going very strongly. And then we have some of the smaller capital cities where prospects for growth are very strong moving forward. Brisbane, Adelaide, Canberra all have very solid real estate economies right now, very underrated markets, particularly Adelaide. And we also are now seeing increasing evidence that the Perth market is moving into a recovery phase after several years of downturn. So good prospects across the country for property investors to buy well in areas where the market is a lot more affordable than the two biggest cities, where there's prospects for better rental yields in those places, and also good prospects for growth going forward, particularly in, as I said, regional Australia and the smaller capital cities. So I urge you to get your copy of the National Top 10 Best Buys report. Have a good read of it, because it's just full of possibilities for real estate consumers to buy well in the changed property landscape that we're now all seeing before us, with a lot more optimism and confidence in real estate markets across Australia. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. Talk to you again soon.